I mentioned the pandemic and COVID and everything that we've been through as a district over the course of the last couple of years. And finally, for this year, really, we felt like we have finally started to turn the page as it relates to how we operate and things that we're trying to do moving forward. We've always had some things that have been very foundational to our nature, work that we did really at the start of when I was fortunate enough to become superintendent here. And those things remain central to us as we work through the COVID-19 pandemic, but it was always seemed to be reactionary based upon the circumstances and things that were going on around us. This year, we really felt like that we have been able to step forward and start being more proactive in the way that we approach our work and the services and opportunities that we provide our students and the support that we provide our schools. And so we've had the chance over the course of the last year to share this with numerous groups of people, most recently with the Chamber of Commerce, and we thought it would be appropriate now with Dr. Matt Mooney, who's going to be joining our board in Ms. Atherton's place beginning in January, to do a quick revisit of some of that foundational work that we did over 4 years ago, or about 4 years ago. And so if you will, I'm going to take just a few moments and walk us through some of these key documents around the room that you see, and talk a little bit about how we utilize those and some plans that we have moving forward as we try to continue to transform the learning experiences that our students have here in Bullitt County in hopes to create a sustaining better community down the road. We all know our world continues to change rapidly, and I don't think it's slowed down any. If anything, it's sped up since the pandemic. The thing that has been, I think, most frustrating for everybody, educators and non-educators alike, is that schools have not necessarily kept up with the change that we've seen around the world. And by schools, I don't mean our schools here in Bullitt County. I mean education as an institution. It's one of those things that has stayed stagnant through the years, even though we are in a hyper-connected, hyper-changing world that's moving quickly each and every year. If you look at schools in the 1920s, this is the picture you'd see. Students, most of which compliant, at least that's what the stories say. I'd like to go back to those classrooms, and I'm sure they've got some of the same issues that we're still dealing with today. But you see students sitting in rows, ready to receive the knowledge that the teachers are ready to pass on to them. You look at schools in the 2020s, and you don't see much different. In a lot of our classrooms, we still have those students sitting in rows, being compliant, doing the things that the teachers ask them to do for the most part. We may have upgraded our technology a bit. Our textbooks have become computers or iPads or tablets, but the way that we go about educating our students really hasn't changed much since the industrial age. And I think now we have a great opportunity in front of us to forge a new path for what we want our students in the way of the experiences that we provide them and the outcomes that we're trying to get to. In order for us to be able to truly transform in an authentic way the educational experiences of our students, it requires these four things. We have to have a strategy. We have to create a culture that is inclusive, that is innovative, that allows ideas to surface from the trenches and from the ground up, and it has to be built on relationships. Relationships have to be foundational to everything we do. It matters from our teachers to our students, our parents to our teachers, our administrators to our teachers, our board members to our community, district leadership to schools. Relationships are everything. People do not care what you know until they know you care. That is a common quote that we hear a lot, and it could not be more true today as ever. And the last thing we have to have is a commitment to learning and improvement. I mean, that's one thing that I've continued to preach since day one as being superintendent is it doesn't matter where we fall on the spectrum. We could be the most highest performing school or district in the state or the lowest performing school or district in the state. And as long as we're committed to this idea of continuous improvement, about being better tomorrow than we are today, then we are going to be just fine, and we're going to continue to move where we need to go. And so that commitment to learning and improvement has to be foundational as well. So if you remember, we did a lot of work that is serving us well now 4 years ago around who we are as a school district, what does student success really mean, and what are the expectations our community have for us. So I want to spend just a few minutes kind of going through that again, just reminding folks where we landed on that. And this was a collaborative effort. I want to remind you of that as well. We didn't do this as a district. We did this as a community. We did it through focus groups. We did it through surveys. We had a team of folks that were business folks, teachers, administrators, students who vetted everything that we did and every document that we came up with as a result of the process we went through. The first of those things were our list of our core values, which define who we are as a school district. The first core value that we really pride ourselves on, and this is what surfaced to the top as the most important of anything we identified, is that our students matter most. Number one, every decision that we make as a school district has to be in the best interest of our students. And sometimes those decisions are difficult, as you well know. We have lots of competing interests that are asking for things, vying for things, positioning for decisions. But at the end of the day, we have to stop and we have to ask ourselves, what is it that's in the best interest of our students? Our primary goal has to make sure that all of our students succeed, all of them. And so we have to effectively listen to our stakeholders, respond to them, change practice when appropriate, communicate the rationale for the decisions that we make so that the students remain the center of our efforts. So that's number one. Second is we have shared accountability. It takes everyone in our district functioning at a high level for us to have optimal performance and to provide the best experiences possible to our students. So no matter what your role is in our district or in our community or in our organization, you have a part to play to ensure the success of every kid. We're seeing a transportation and a labor shortage right now that is negatively impacting the services and the experiences we can provide our students. That is a prime example of shared accountability. Without those folks and those folks performing to the best of their ability, we can't provide the type of experiences that we want for our students and for our kids and for our community here. So we've got to create the conditions for shared leadership. We've got to give folks the opportunity to be able to suggest things and give ideas for improvement initiatives. We got to build a culture of trust, and that's something that's been foundational for us for the last 5 years, is trying to establish that. Collegiality and shared responsibility with students, staff, and families. Everybody deserves a place at the table and a conversation or a part of the conversation when it comes to decision making. Next, we have to embrace differences. We have to create a culture of acceptance. Our community is changing, and it doesn't mean that we have to agree with every point of view or everybody that's out there, but we have to understand that people come from different contexts and experiences, and we have to honor those things. There's always going to be different backgrounds, different points of view, and different perspectives. And so we've got to be able to come together around those things and at least create a culture of understanding and embracing those folks that might think a little bit different than we do. We have to serve all of our students and make sure that they're empowered to reach their full potential. We have to value student voice, and I'm going to tell you that is an area that we need to improve in immensely. We need to talk to our students and our student leaders to let them tell us where our issues are, because they will. We're experiencing that firsthand right now. We have to address inequities. Every one of our schools need different things, and so we have to look at those and honor those things and address areas that need to be addressed, helping us close opportunity gaps that exist across our district. We have some schools and communities that have great support, whether it be home life, business, community, what have you. And we have other schools that lack that. And so where can we provide supports in those areas that need those additional helps and supports? And so those are things that we have to be willing to face head on as a district. We've got to be future focused. We only have a certain amount of resources, whether that be time, capital, people. We can't just continue to manufacture things. So we have to be able to utilize the resources that we have, whether that be our talent, our finances, our time, to advance our goals of student success. And again, it all comes down to ensuring that our students are successful. We got to be proactively innovative. One of the things that I learned from an individual who is a lot smarter than I am is our system is designed to get the results that it's currently getting. It's perfectly designed to get the results that we're currently getting. So if we want different results, then we've got to do different things. And that means we've got to be innovative. We've got to try things that haven't been tried before. And we have to create a culture where it's okay to fail. It's okay not to succeed in the pursuit of learning how to do things better and learning how to get better opportunities and better outcomes for our students. We got to provide exceptional quality. We got to be able to measure that in all aspects of our organization. We got to be able to provide opportunities and show and communicate the results in everything that we do. We've got to create learning environments that empower students to own their learning. As it stands right now, in the world of education, teachers are the ones that own the learning in the classroom. If we want to be truly transformational, we have to flip that. Our students have to be owners of their learning experiences, because that's when they find their purpose, meaning, and joy in learning and making sure that they get an education that excels past graduation, which is what we truly want. So being proactive about looking and searching for ways to be different, and not just for the sake of being different, but being different to get better results than we've ever gotten. That's what we have to be committed to. And then lastly, we have to be all about service before self. And this doesn't mean that our mental health and our well-being takes a back seat. That's not what we're talking about. But we have to be committed to creating a nurturing and inclusive environment where all of our students and staff and families feel deeply connected to their school community. We're here to serve. We're here to serve our kids. We're here to serve our community. We're here to serve our parents. We can't forget that. And that has to be foundational to everything that we do. And creating that nurturing environment is what serving is really all about. That's when students truly become connected to what it is that they want to become, and we get the opportunity to make a lasting influence in the lives of our kids. So these are the core beliefs that surface to the top of all the things we did through our strategic planning process 4 years ago. If you guys remember, some of you were directly involved in that. It was an 18-month process. And it's something that we took very, very seriously. Unfortunately, again, COVID had us take a back seat to being proactively pushing this to the forefront. But now we're able to, as we've come through the pandemic, we're able to start having this conversation in a more proactive way. So every decision that we make as a board team, every decision we make as a district, every decision we make at the school and classroom level have to be rooted in these 6 core values, because that's what our community says is the DNA of who we are. And so we need to honor that as we do our work moving forward. We talked a lot about student success, and I think it's important that we define what student success is. We have conditioned our community and we've conditioned our parents and folks that aren't education-minded people to judge our students, judge our schools, and judge our districts by one-stop shop accountability scores that are given to us by the state. And while you'll never hear me say that test scores are not important, I believe they are. But they're only one metric and only one way to measure progress for a student and how successful a student or a school or a district is. I'll be the first to tell you, if you were hiring me based on test scores, I wouldn't be your superintendent right now. I was not a great test taker. But I was lucky enough to have experiences in my educational opportunities, not just in the classroom, but out of the classroom, that taught me a lot of great skills about how to communicate, how to work with one another, how to be a leader, and do things the right way. And so those are the things that really contributed to my success as a human being, and those are the things that are going to contribute to our student success. And so when we had conversations with our parents, and we had conversations with our community, our business leaders, our economic leaders here in the community, and we asked them, what is it about an applicant or an application, a job application that's going to set one person apart from another? What is it that you're looking for when you look to try and hire folks into your community? This is what they told us. University administrators told us these are the attributes that we look for when folks apply to be a member of our schools. And they, again, has come down to what is now defined as our graduate profile. And so the first thing is mastery learners. If we want our students to be successful throughout life after they leave our school and after they leave our district, we have to make sure that they're master learners. And that means we have to cultivate in them a love of learning. They need to be able to achieve, but they need to be able to use skills that are taught to them in the classroom across all different contexts. They need to be able to make adjustments based on new information and experiences. They need to be able to apply the knowledge that they're gaining in their classroom settings to things outside of the classroom in the real world. Those are things that cannot be assessed by standardized tests. So we have to look for ways to ensure that our students are becoming master learners at all levels. They said we need folks that can communicate. We need people that can have good conversations with folks in a variety of different ways, written and verbal. They need to be able to actively listen to understand. How many times in today's world do we wish that we could get folks to just listen to understand instead of listening to rebut, but listening to truly understand context and what's going on? We have to be able to engage others in discourse, having a proactive and productive conversation amongst two people, crafting messages that are appropriate to the context, purpose, and needs of the audience, conveying ideas in a clear way, either verbal, written, digital, etc. This is what an effective communicator is, and we've got to provide students the opportunity to demonstrate how they can effectively communicate all through kindergarten through 12th grade. We have to have innovative problem solvers. We need people who are curious, who are confident, who are independent, can look at a situation and have a theory of change or come up with a hypothesis for how to solve a situation. They need to be able to gather and analyze information. They got to be able to synthesize ideas, data to equip unique solutions or to develop unique solutions. And then they got to be able to analyze feedback. It's not good enough to turn in an assignment and then did I get an A, B, C, or D? But how do they take the feedback that's given to them, even by a teacher or by a peer, to improve the product that they're working on or the next iteration of what they're going to do? That's being an innovative problem solver. And those are the types of experiences that we've got to provide our students. We've got to teach them how to collaborate. We know that the workforce today calls for fewer and fewer situations where students are going to, or workers are going to be in an isolated situation. Chances are, if they're going to be employed, they're going to be employed in a position where they're going to have to work in some sort of a team or a collaborative group. And so we've got to get them to appreciate the importance of teamwork and collaboration. Understand what it means to be counted on and to count on others. We got to teach them how to listen to others' viewpoints and manage conflict to find a solution. We've got to teach them to seek out and provide opportunities for constructive feedback and improve the outcome of the goals or objectives that they want to achieve. That's what being a collaborator is all about. It's not just about doing a group project, but about all those things that incorporates being counted on as a productive member of a team. We need folks that are self-directed. Bosses constantly told us, I need somebody that I don't have to stand over and say, you got to do this, and then you got to do this, and then you got to do this. We've got to get folks that can develop curiosity, that can develop confidence in themselves and independence as learners and workers. They need to be able to determine what their purpose is in this world, how they're going to set and achieve goals, how they're going to prioritize and manage their time appropriately, how they're going to initiate a course of action and reflect on the results that they've gotten in order to improve. That's being self-directed. Folks constantly told us we need people, applicants that are going to be able to pass a drug test, that are going to show up to work on time every single day. That's being self-directed. And so we've got to provide opportunities for students to demonstrate those things, again, in an authentic way. Being community contributors. We've got to teach people about empathy, compassion, and respect for others. We're not telling them what they're supposed to think, but we're asking them to consider someone else's point of view. Walk a mile in their shoes. Get some idea of where they're coming from. Don't say you got to agree with them, but understand that there are differing contexts, differing backgrounds that everyone brings to the table. They got to understand the importance of service. Being a part of a community is not always about you. It's about how you interact and how you serve others. Teach them to recognize the need, plans, and engages in action to make a positive impact in their community. How much better can our community be if everyone was involved in making our towns a better place to live and serve? So we've got to teach our kids the importance of that and how to demonstrate safe, legal, and ethical behavior. So important to improve the overall life of the communities that we live. So being a community contributor, one of those things, again, that cannot be assessed on a standardized test that's given one time a year on one day. And so how do we really look at or what do we do to measure progress towards the acquisition of these essential skills as a part of what our students are going to be expected to do to be successful? Those are the questions we have to answer as a district, and those are questions we're already answering as a district through our graduate profile cohort of teachers who are working through this at all levels. We've got multiple cohorts now over several years that have been in this space trying to figure out what are really truly authentic learning experiences that can demonstrate all of these things, not just a standardized test and not just the content that students need to know, but these skills that they need to be able to develop within them to be truly successful moving forward. And then the expectations of our community. And those surface in the aspiration statements that the board developed as a part of this process. And so for us, who are we really accountable to? We're accountable to our parents and our community. Those are the folks that send their kids to us, their best asset that they have every single day, hoping for great outcomes. And so we are responsible to them for the product that we produce. And so the expectations that our community has laid out for us is they want our graduates to be immediately ready to succeed in life once they graduate from our schools. And to be able to succeed in life, they have to be competent in the skills we just talked about. Second is we wanted to provide a solid, useful education that's valued by students, parents, educators, staff, the community, and businesses. We need an educational system that our students feel is important to them, our parents feel is important to them, and that folks move to our community because they want to send their kids to our schools for the experiences that they get. That's an expectation our community has of us. They want us to achieve student success cost effectively. Obviously, we are stewards of the taxpayers' money, and we need to take that as a serious responsibility. So it doesn't mean that we're cheap, but it does mean that we make sure that every single dollar we spend is directly geared towards student success, and it ensures continuous movement along that continuum. And so we got to make sure that the money that we do allocate and that we spend directly goes towards ensuring our students have the opportunity to demonstrate those things. We have to be a leader in educational innovation and performance. Again, I'm going to say it. Our system is producing the result that it's designed to produce. And so if we want better results, we've got to change the system. We've got to do things a little bit differently. And to do that means we got to lead in innovation. We can't wait for somebody else to come up with the answers. We need to figure out what the answers are for our community and our kids right here in Bullitt County, and then let other people come and take a look at what we're doing that they can go back and emulate in their communities. So that's what we have to be about. We want people to come in here, into our classrooms, into our schools, into our board meetings and say, what's Bullitt County doing to get the success that they're getting and for their students to be able to achieve the things that they're achieving. And then we have to understand and realize that learning doesn't just happen in the four walls of a classroom between 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It happens when we collaborate with business and other education providers and the community to give our kids truly authentic experiences that mean something to them. Some of our best, most effective learning experiences happen in our community, in our businesses here in Bullitt County, not in our classrooms. And so how do we provide more opportunities for students to get those experiences and translate the information that they're getting in our schools and in our classrooms to real life application out into our communities? Those are areas that we're going to have to continue to find ways to do, because again, those are the things that our community expects of us as a school district. And so really what we're saying is we've got to shift our focus. We talk a lot, generally around October when assessment scores come out, accountability score comes out, about the state of schools and the state of districts based on those numerical numbers that are a result of a 15-day test in May. And so what we have to do is shift from a state accountability system. You see an A through F system in Kentucky now. It's a colored system, red through blue, where you have an accountability that's based on a standardized test that's performed one time a year to a community-based accountability model that's based on the expectations that the community has for the services that the district provides their students. And so that's a process we've already started by partnering with a group called Brave Ed. We're currently meeting with our district leadership team once a month for 2 hours, looking at what community benefits-based accountability model truly means. But that system has to be built from the school up. It's not built from the boardroom down, it's built from the school up. So we're working with the folks at Brave Ed to really educate our district leadership team about what that means. So starting next year, we could bring our principals into that conversation, and they can start looking at what benefits their parents expect from the school level and how can we measure those things as it relates to our board aspiration statements and the components of our graduate profile. So we're really going to be talking a lot about shifting our focus from state accountability, not replacing state accountability. We're still going to do the whole state accountability thing. We're still going to pay attention to assessment results, and we're still going to monitor those things. But we're also going to pay heavy attention to what those community accountability, those benefits-based products are that also tell the tale of how effective and efficient our school district is. This type of work is rooted really in deeper learning, or what we like to call, you've heard me talk about or mention the word several times today, authentic learning experiences. Putting students in positions that are meaningful to them, where they're able to gain knowledge and apply knowledge to a task or a function that is going to further them as an individual towards what they want to accomplish as adults. And that is a totally different way of thinking than ever before. And so we really have to look at reinventing our student experience, particularly from the secondary level. There's a lot that has not changed in a lot of years in our secondary world. And a lot of that has to do with rules, regulation, and red tape that we've been required to follow all along the way. We have to be able to be willing to blow that system up. And there's going to be students that thrive in that old traditional way of learning. But there's also going to be students that need to thrive in a new way of learning. How can we provide students with reading and writing and math curriculum in a way that directly aligns to what they want to do after high school? There are always going to be those kids that want to take those upper level college type courses, and we need to still provide those opportunities for those students. But for those other students who want to get into the hands-on careers, how do we provide them with opportunities to learn core content material through courses that directly align to pathways? And so we have to start having those conversations around what could that look like and what are the structures that need to be in place in order for that to happen. The good thing is we have this happening in pockets right now, even despite some of the limitations that we have on the way that we currently operate in terms of our secondary world. Our elementary folks have already begun, really started to immerse themselves into project-based learning opportunities that lend itself to a deeper learning or authentic learning model. But our high school students are starting to get those experiences as well. If you were lucky enough to attend the dinner on Saturday night, this is a prime example of authentic learning in its core. Our FFA students, our business students, our culinary students, and our art students collaborated to provide a farm-to-table event where they raised every single thing that we ate Saturday night from the time they put it in the ground, planted it, or cultivated it from the egg, if you will, all the way through serving it as a meal. And those students, again, raised everything, harvested everything, cooked everything, served everything, planned the dinner, marketed the dinner, put the performance on, and now they get to go back, they get to look at the profits that they brought in, be able to determine cost versus revenue, make plans for next year as a result. These are the types of authentic learning experiences that all of our kids need. Our BAMS program has been doing this for 5 or 6 years in collaboration and partnership with GE. Most recently with Bernheim Forest, and then our engineering students are doing it with our county and local governments in developing and suggesting different handicap accessible items and things to install in local parks to allow folks with disabilities to be able to access our forests and our parks right here in our community. Again, authentic learning experiences where kids get content knowledge, but they get it in a way that's real to them and that makes a positive difference and impact in our community. And so we've got to find ways to provide more opportunities like this for students to be able to participate in and learn from. So ultimately, I think the challenge for us as a board team has to be centered really around this question. How do we create the conditions to achieve the vision that we just talked about? That has to be foundational in everything that we do and every decision that we make as a board is around that particular question. And I'm going to tell you the answers will not come from the boardroom. They will not come from the district leadership. The answers will come from the trenches. And so we have to provide opportunities to have meaningful conversations with the folks on the front line so that we know where to put our time, resources, and energy into improving. And we've already started to do that. Several of our several of our advisory teams have been meeting even through COVID to identify areas that we can improve in. This is some pictures of our recent certified advisory teams. And they've identified 3 areas that they want to work on for improvement. One is Tier 1 instruction. How do we improve Tier 1 instruction across the district? How do we improve student behavior and deal with student behavior as that's become an increasing problem through the pandemic? And then how do we deal with staffing? What is it that's holding us back from being able to recruit and train and attain enough staff in order to be able to do the jobs? Do we have an adequate and efficient staffing formula, or does that need to change? Those are the things that they're working on currently right now through the development of PDSA models and working with our district leadership to find solutions in those 3 areas. Classified advisory team, the 3 areas that they're really focused on right now, 2 of them are the same. You'll see staffing is a big one and dealing with our increases in student behavior, but also what is our onboarding procedures and how can we ensure that we are effectively onboarding new staff in order for them to be able to hit the ground running and be successful. Again, things that are being identified at the ground level that those folks can work with, those teams can work with our district leadership folks to create better systems for improvement around those things. And then our student advisory team. These I'm gonna be honest, these are the best days in my month when I get the opportunity to spend 3 or 4 hours with these students. There are representatives from all 3 of our high schools, and we've even got 2 from our BVLA that also come in and have conversation with us. The things that they're really working on right now are the mental health challenges that our students are facing right now, a lot of which is due to the environments that we put them in as educators, and that we hear about that a lot. We've also learned that we need to improve the way that we communicate with our students. They told me last week they don't read emails. I don't know why. I'm surprised. A lot of our adults don't read emails, so I don't know why we thought that our students would read emails. But we've got to find better ways to communicate with our students so that they know the resources that are available to them that they can take advantage of. And I think the one thing that probably hit me the hardest was when we went through the process, they took a survey at the end of last year, particularly around mental health and their experiences at school. And the conversation went towards other things as they started to break down the data from that survey. And one of the groups, we were divided into 3 groups, and they were using chart paper and singling out some important things that they saw in the data. But one of the groups looked and said, what it really boils down to is our kids, we want a different experience. We want change, but we don't feel like that we're ever going to get it from our district. That's what they said. They said, we want a different experience, but we don't have any confidence that anything's ever going to change. And that's tough to hear, being the superintendent and the head of that district. And so, again, I think that we've got to do a better job at the district level and at the school level into tapping into the experiences of our students and having critical conversations with them about what it is that how they see things and what are the obstacles that are in their way that we can look at and work on as a district to improve. And then lastly, our CCIL team. This is our community collaborators for innovative learning team that consists of community leaders, educators, and students that are working together to really design and develop more meaningful learning experiences and better assessment practices that truly tell how our students are progressing towards those things. I've listed the dates of the remaining meetings for this year up there. I think it would be important for as many of our board members to attend those as can. There's been some great conversation that has come from that. Adrian is leading that group along with Mike Abundant, who's a community leader here in Bullitt County and also a great partner with us through GE. And he does a lot with our students in the engineering programs and in the band programs, and is just a great resource for us. Understands where we're trying to go as a district and is able to communicate it in a non-educational way to community leaders. And he has been really great translator, if you will, for us to folks that aren't as versed in the educational world. Because sometimes that's the barrier, right? We get caught up in all this education language, and a lot of times it's difficult for our community leaders to understand what we're trying to do and where we're coming from. And so Mike has been a great support in that area as well, and Adrian's doing a fantastic job facilitating the conversation among that group of people. So what's on the horizon for us? Some things that I think we need to consider as a board team moving forward, especially with the addition of Dr. Mooney coming on next month, is I think we need to seriously consider a board team training and retreat for sometime in January if possible. January might be a little bit too optimistic. Well, we may need to look at, sometime early in 2023, I'll say. I think we need to spend some time together, a full day together as a board team. And specifically, some things I really feel strongly that we need to look at are what are our board team commitments. We cite those every meeting, but what do they mean? And are we truly following them? What does it mean to truly follow them? Are they still relevant today? Because if they're just words on paper and they're not we're not going to follow through with those commitments, then it hurts our credibility. And so I think we need to have a serious conversation around, are we still committed to those things? What do those mean, and how are we going to operate from that moving forward? I think we need to revisit our aspiration statements to make sure that is still the expectation of the community around us, and see if those need to be tweaked or changed in any way. We need to examine the characteristics of a truly transformational board team, and redefine and recommit to the roles and responsibilities that lie into that. And then we need to set goals as a team, so that the board team can hold our district and our district leadership accountable for the goals that are set for us moving forward. I think those are, anytime that we have new board members rotating on, I think this is a great opportunity to revisit these foundational things that we strive to be as a board, and recommit to those things and make adjustments where we need to. It's also a great opportunity to onboard Dr. Mooney into our work and to get him going and hit the ground running. And so this is something I'm going to be asking you guys to look at your calendars for over the next few months, so that we can sit down together and decide how we want to move forward together as a team. And really our goal has to be to take the classrooms of yesterday and transform them into the classrooms of tomorrow, because this is what it should look like for every single student in Bullitt County, no matter what the grade is. These are the type of experiences that we need to be providing them. So we've got to sit down and decide and determine what's the best path forward for us to be able to do that. So again, this is something, as you can tell, I get really excited about, because it's been the passion of mine, and it's why I do my work. The last 2.5 years have been exhausting, and I'm ready to move forward, and I think our community is ready to move forward as well. And so I look forward to working with you guys and Dr. Mooney moving forward, so that we could get to the place where we are providing these type of opportunities for all of our students here in Bullitt County. So appreciate you guys very much.